Hello. Today I'm going to read an excerpt from Nelson Mandela's speech or defense at his trial in 1964 for attempting to overthrow the South African state. I am the first accused. I hold a bachelor's degree in arts and practiced as an attorney in Johannesburg for a number of years in partnership with Oliver Tambo. I'm a convicted prisoner serving 5 years for leaving the country without a permit and for inciting people to go on strike at the end of May 1961. The lack of human dignity experienced by Africans is the direct result of the policy of white supremacy. White supremacy implies black inferiority. Legislation designed to preserve white supremacy entrenches this notion. Menial tasks in South Africa are invariably performed by Africans. When anything has to be carried or cleaned, the white man will look around for an African to do it for him, whether the African is employed by him or not. Because of this sort of attitude, whites tend to regard Africans as a separate breed. They do not look upon them as people with families of their own. They do not realize that they have emotions, that they fall in love like white people do, that they want to be with their wives and children like white people want to be with theirs, that they want to earn enough money to support their family properly, to feed and clothe them and send them to school. And what houseboy or garden boy or laborer can ever hope to do this? Pass laws which to the Africans are among the most hated bits of legislation in South Africa render any African liable to police surveillance at any time. I doubt whether there's a single African male in South Africa who has not at some stage had a brush with the police over his past. Hundreds and thousands of Africans are thrown into jail each year under pass laws. Even worse than this is the fact that pass laws keep husband and wife apart and lead to the breakdown of family life. Poverty and the breakdown of family life has secondary effects. Children wander about the streets of the townships because they have no schools to go to, no money to enable them to go to school, or no parents at home to see that they go to school because both parents, if there are two, have to work to keep the family alive. This leads to a breakdown in moral standards, to an alarming rise in illegitimacy, and the growing violence which erupts not only politically, but everywhere. Life in the townships is dangerous. There is not a day that goes by without somebody getting stabbed or assaulted. And violence is carried out of the townships in the white living areas. People are afraid to walk alone in the streets after dark. Housebreaking and robberies are increasing, despite the fact that the death sentence can now be imposed for such offenses. Death sentences cannot cure the festering sore. Africans want to be paid a living wage. Africans want to perform work which they are capable of doing, not work for which the government declares them to be capable of. Africans want to be allowed to live where they obtain work and not be endorsed out of the area because they were not born there. Africans want to be allowed to own land in places where they work and not to be obliged to live in rented houses which they can never call their own. Africans want to be part of the general population and not confined to living in their own ghettos. African men want to have their wives and children to live with them where they work and not be forced into unnatural existence in men's hostels. African women want to be with their menfolk and not be left permanently widowed in the reserves. Africans want to be allowed out after 11 o'clock at night and not be confined to their rooms like little children. Africans want to be allowed to travel in their own country and seek work where they want to, and not where the Labor Bureau tells them to. Africans want a just share in the whole of South Africa. They want security and a stake in society. Above all, we want equal political rights, because without them our disabilities will be permanent. I know this sounds revolutionary to the whites in this country, because the majority of voters will be Africans. This makes the white men fear democracy. But this fear cannot be allowed to stand in the way of the only solution which will guarantee racial harmony and freedom for all. It is not true that the enfranchisement of all will result in racial domination. Political division based on color is entirely artificial, and when it disappears, so will the domination of one color group by another. The ANC has spent half a century fighting against racialism. When it triumphs, it will not change that policy. This is what the ANC is fighting. Their struggle is a truly national one. It is a struggle of the African people, inspired by their own suffering and their own experience. It is a struggle for the right to live. During my lifetime, I have dedicated myself to this struggle of the African people. I have fought against white domination. I have fought against black domination. I have cherished the ideal of a democracy and a free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunities. It is an ideal which I hope to live for and to achieve, but if needs be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die.